Hello friends, in this short session we'll be going over the interesting topic of linked process, subprocess, dynamic subprocess and event subprocess. So to make processes reusable, we can have a multi-layered approach where we can have a higher level abstract process and sub-processes underneath it or layers of sub-processes underneath it. So let's first take a look at a linked process. Linked process, as the name suggests, is another process which can be linked to a primary BPD primary process, and you map your data variables to it. You pass your variables so that the linked process has its own set of variables which need to be mapped from the primary BPD. As compared to that, a sub-process is a nested process which is available within the primary BPD's definition, and it does not have data bindings or data mappings because it has access to all the variables within the primary BPD. Now comes the lesser known type of subprocess, which is called a dynamic subprocess. A dynamic subprocess is useful when you want to be able to connect different linked processes based on a certain business aspect. For example, loan processing could have different kinds of loans underneath it, and you may want to process them using different linked processes. So how it's implemented is like this: when you select a base linked process, and then using a variable you specify a dynamic process. That this variable holds the name of the process which will be dynamically linked during runtime. The caveat is that the data mapping has to be same. That means the signature of all the dynamic subprocesses should be same. Otherwise, you will not be able to switch from one dynamic subprocess to another dynamic subprocess. But this name should be a dynamic linked process because it's a dynamic link process instead of a dynamic sub process. The definition is outside the primary BPD, and we switch between different definitions. Now comes the fourth topic, which is the event subprocess. As the name suggests, it is triggered by event, and once executed, it can run in parallel with the primary flow, or it can interfere with the primary flow. And similar to a subprocess, it has access to all the variables within the primary process. Now let's take a look at the various implementation types. That means the various start event types. You can handle an error start event, message start event, SCA service, ECM content, and timer. So that concludes this session, and these are the four types of sub processes or linked processes which we discussed. First one is a link process, second one is a sub process, then a dynamic sub process, and an event sub process.